Hello, everyone, and welcome back for another episode of A Bigger Bite. Let's say hello to the web slingers out there who are tuning in for this just because of what film we're talking about. Let's be honest. We all have that kind of fandom sometimes. And thank you all for tuning in for this special episode where we are diving into Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm not going to lie, my head almost wanted to say No Way Home. But it is a brand new day for New York's favorite wall crawler and the world's favorite wall crawler. As it's kind of going back to basics, and we'll touch on that a little bit. But with that being said, I need to introduce today's panel of Amarú, Nick, and Harrison, who we are going to be diving into these swinging scenes and the villain that we're going to definitely have some thoughts about. And there's so much more when it comes to Spider-Man. But first, real quick, Harrison, how you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, hanging out at the beach with my family, but I made it out to see Spider-Man, and I'm excited to talk about it.
CEO, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. Call me crazy, but I think this film might make a little bit of money.
I think it's already made a little bit of money at this point. Rue, how are you doing today, sir?
MCU, no matter what they do, no matter what their stupidity is at the moment, are going to be very happy at the end of the year.
Without a doubt. But all right, let's talk about the biggest thing up front. We're going to talk about Jean Grey first. I don't give a fuck, because that's why a lot of people are here.
Sure.
Like, let's be honest, a lot of people are wanting to talk about that villain, and I know someone here on this panel already has thoughts, because I saw them post about it immediately on socials. But we'll start off with Harrison. Harrison, your thoughts on the villain that was Jean Grey?
The villain that was Jean Grey. She's definitely a villain. First of all, the casting is perfect. Sadie Sink is an amazing actor. I really like her in the role. I personally just found it baffling to include her in this movie as the main villain and not have somebody like a bigger villain who's working with her or even controlling her in some aspect. One of my thoughts was this was a great idea for an MCU story with Spider-Man in it, but not a great idea for a Spider-Man movie. And I like Sadie Sink. I had no issues with her in the performance that she gave. I just don't know that I liked what they did with this character, at least what they did with this character before Secret Wars. Because she just, to me, feels somewhat... If they didn't name her, I guess I'd be more okay with it. But actually saying, yes, this is Jean Grey, it just felt a little odd.
I need you to explain more about the Spider-Man thing, because I don't agree with you. But why does this not work for a Spider-Man movie?
Because I don't see Jean Grey as the main villain of a Spider-Man movie. Can she be in a Spider-Man story where somebody else is the main villain? She's just involved in the plot? Yes, I think that would be an interesting story. For me, what it would be like if we had a Captain America movie and Spider-Man is the main villain because somebody from S.H.I.E.L.D. killed his parents and he found out about it from Ant-Man. It's I don't want another MCU hero to be the villain of the movie. It's not like Winter Soldier. He was the villain, but why? He was brain controlled. That was the whole issue there.
And this is not like this is where I'm gonna push back on you, because this is very similar to that. Because at the end of the day, this is someone who's doing stuff not for evil reasons. It's because they're trying to rescue their sister, and they are hurt, and they are missing their family. And
I agree with that aspect. Yes, she wants to find her sister.
And at the end of the day, the true villain is really Bill Metzger, played by Tremel.
He is, but I understand doing certain things and everybody's talking about the one guy, the random guy that she got hit by that taxi cab. That wasn't a necessary thing she had to do. Her. And even if you want to put it that, she's not going Spider-Man.
There's a few things that she did. Because remember, she's about to do she's in the beginning. She's about to make that motherfucker. No, not with MJ. The guard in the beginning.
Yes, the guard. But like, even if you're like, okay, she didn't go to Spider-Man for help because she's hurt and she doesn't trust him because he's working with damage control, which is also strange. Not too strange because time has passed, but like, I just don't. I think they could have made her do questionable things, but they didn't have to make her do like they like, you know how like sometimes you have somebody who you think's the villain and Spider-Man's like, you're not really a villain because you could have hurt that guy, but you didn't. Well, like, I know you're trying to do something else. She was playing out hurting people in this. Like, and I was like, oh, that's a strange choice.
Here's where I disagree. I can't disagree with your opinion. Your opinion's your opinion. Here's why I don't have that opinion. One, I think Jean Grey is a perfect encapsulation of what makes this an extremely great and maybe the first fully Spider-Man movie within the MCU. Because one, all or almost all, and I'm going to say all of the other characters in this movie finally answered the question, we're in New York. Where are all the other heroes that like people talk about all the time? Well, they're here. They're here with Spider-Man, who often works with others. And this is not a Spider-Man looking to other people to like become Spider-Man or be better. They're all servicing his story. And I think Jean Grey services his story the best in this. What they wrote for her, well, they were all kind of mirrors of his loneliness, of his isolation, of his anger. And her being the villain was basically the antithesis of that. My opinion is different is because we've all seen the reluctant villain, the anti-hero. No, this is something new I haven't seen with Jean Grey that made her, I was scared as shit. Like my heart was actually racing seeing her do the things she was doing, and I was actually scared of her. It also made me think for like, I know this is Jean Grey, but for a second, for a little bit, when he got hit by the taxi and other things, I'm like, they're not swerving on us, right? Because we know Jean to be a hero, and she is doing some villainous shit. So that also helped to the story. But lastly, and the biggest thing, give me 1 second. The biggest thing for me, what I thought about afterwards is if they are going to, this is the MCU, they need to set up things smartly, not like we got to throw it to throw it. If they're really going to go Dark Phoenix, introducing Dark Phoenix first as a villain plants the seeds initially to get her to be back to that point. Like, we see it from the beginning, so we now know how, if she goes well, she can go right back to that place.
You just nailed the point I was going to make, because we have, in iterations of X-Men, you've seen Jean have struggles and issues when she's younger. And to have them have her take these steps now shows you that she can already go this far. And when the Phoenix takes over her, you will like, it's not that much of a jump for the audience to see that happen. So Rue made the point I was going to make, but I was just backing up with like, it's happened in the past.
And Harrison, I know you don't like the jump from WandaVision to Multiverse of Madness with Wanda. So this is like, hey, we're not going to do that again. This is where you see that come smartly, because it's not something that like, an add-on that's not necessary.
Yeah, and I don't think I have. Yes, I know, like in the comics and even in the previous cartoon, Jean has had like a darkness inside of her that the Phoenix Force could easily grab onto, especially with her trying to control her powers. I feel like me, even like after the fact, after watching it, I thought to myself, like, if this wasn't a Spider-Man movie, if this was like their first X-Men film, and you nix all Spider-Man, and it was Professor X, and he had like his team, he's like, hey, there's this young mutant out there. She needs help. And like he was sending like Cyclops and Angel, whoever else is on that team to find her. And this was like an origin of her joining the team. And at the end, she's with them. I was like, okay, yeah, she did all this bad stuff.
That won't happen because she's an original member of the team. She's always been one of the.
But that's in the comics. I'm saying if you're doing in the comics, she wasn't a villain.
My point is, with how they were setting this up, they are clearly setting this up for they're skewing younger, like our Emma Frost, who typically is a constituent of Charles and Magnus or Eric, whatever name you want to use. We can say this now. Got cast earlier today at time of recordings, played by Samara Weaving. There are rumors floating around that Bill Skarsgård is going to end up being our Charles Xavier, who is around her age. So, like, when you factor in that they're casting these younger, talented actors, if you want to go based off the rumors that Kaylee Spaney is going to be Rogue, Charles Melton is going to be Beast. They're looking at either Drew Starkey or Cooper Hoffman to be Cyclops, and there's one more that I can't think of right now. But point being, like, if you're going to take the Charles is closer in age to his students route, which is very similar to what goes on in X-Men 97, mind you, this makes sense. It really does to how they're doing it, because if they're going to be his first students and come together as that first team, and he's going to be picking them off from wherever they are in their journeys, it makes a ton of sense.
How old is she supposed to be in this movie anyway? Like,
She's a
I never
teenager. That's all we know.
Like, is she like around Peter's age? Because at the time of this movie, he's what, like, technically, biologically, he's 24.
22.
Physically, he's 24. Biologically, he's like 27. Whatever the
so it's this you mean by age, because there's no physically and biologically are the same thing. So technically he's like 28. Mentally.
Yeah.
No, because he was zapped for 5 years. There's still
that's what he's talking about.
Yeah, so there's everything you're saying. So it's technically he is 27 because it's 4 years after No Way Home. So it's 4 years after No Way Home, which would make him 21, 22.
And physical. And then he's 21, 22. And then technically he's 27. So Jean, just going by like the age of the actors, are they saying like she's high school age or she's college age? That's what I could never nail down.
So if they're if they're going to go based around timelines of how they set up X-Men, they're going to be late teens, early 20s for that first team, that first group of students. Similar to how First Class did it, where while they technically were not school age, they were still young and that first team learning from Xavier. So,
yeah, to me, the big thing with Sadie Sink's Jean Grey in this is I think it spotlighted, because we know what we know of the X-Men that we've had, whether it's the animated series, whether it's the Fox X-Men. They've taken liberties as to who is going to be the focal points of the group. Cyclops obviously was a big focal point. Wolverine was a big focal point in the Fox movies. Different people in Storm is a much bigger focal point in like X-Men 97. I think that the thing that you got from this is that they are going to put a strong focus on Xavier, because Jean, I don't think they're going into a Phoenix thing, at least not for a long time.
Not for a while. That's you need at least 2 or 3 good movies first before you get into that. Not doing it in the third movie.
I think you very easily could have done some kind of a post-credit teasing, Charles, which they didn't, but that's fine. But I think that Jean,
you'll find out who he is in D23 in 2 weeks.
I think the Jean that we got here is going to be the most important character that Charles has to harness. And I think we got that here.
Which is always the case in the comics, mind you.
Pardon me?
Which is always the case in the comics, mind you.
Yes. But we never really get that story. We always get to hear about it, but we never really get those two starting this whole thing. So I don't think that there's an evil streak to Jean in this. Like Ruth said, it is a revenge plot, just trying to get her sister back. She doesn't even know her sister's been killed through the majority of this, but an inability to harness her powers because she's still kind of learning them. And that's where Charles is going to come in, which is why I thoroughly enjoy the actor, but I don't really want Bill Skarsgård to be Charles Xavier.
I'll say this. I got to give some. I hate that I'm saying this. I'm going to give a little props to X-Men: Age of Apocalypse, because it did show you how much Charles cares about that Jean relationship, and even unfortunately Dark Phoenix. Yeah.
But anyway, I was just going to say all of this is why I like this representation and her being in here. It reminded me of how Black Panther and Spidey were introduced, but a slightly bigger role, because this is something I haven't seen with Jean or the X-Men before. It got me interested in, like, how is Charles getting to her? How is Charles switching her? How is she getting to the X-Men? It's bringing in plot points that, like, we're not getting X-Men yet, but we're now anticipating how is this new X-Men coming about, because this is such a new way to get into their story. And I gotta say, when they dropped her name, I was like, this is the first film Spidey and X-Men are like together. Oh shit. Hell yeah. I got tickles a little bit.
This is also the first film where we're getting one of the MCU versions of these characters and not just the previous iteration reused.
But that's where I kind of push back on what Harrison said a little bit, because I don't think this is something that you're showing that she can become Phoenix. I think if she becomes Phoenix later on, it happens irregardless of this, because I don't look at her as a villain at any point in this film. She plays the role of a villain, but she's not a bad guy. And that's where I would hate to have seen her harnessed by another villain, because I don't think she is one. I think she's someone who is not quite in control of her powers. She is like Hulk at the beginning of Banner's transformation, just doesn't quite know how to harness what power she has. She's kind of learning that all. And that's why I like that she was a villain in Spider-Man, because I don't think this is an avenue to turning her back to a villain. I think that's something that could happen, but it's not going to be this little breadcrumb is why we got there. I think this is her origin. She becomes the Jean Grey we know as a hero. And if we go to Phoenix, that happens down the line.
That's also why I like a lot of the setup in this movie. The setup in the movie is not to be set up. It's for this movie. It's for this story, but it's smartly written enough that if you decide to go down those paths that they set up, it's like, well, of course, we have those things in Brand New Day to kind of let us go that way if we want to. It's not a setup for setup purposes. It's smart writing.
But here's the thing. Film. It is, and that's why it's still smart writing, because you are now easily able to take this experience that she has had and have her talk about Charles, talk about it with Charles and use it as a point. So it's still set up. It is set up in the most set up of ways.
But I'm saying it's not. Reason. But just saying not. A lot of people think that MCU
it's not wasted setup. It's not wasted.
It's not wasted setup. It's not. It services the movie.
Yes, I was just adding on to your point. Yeah. Like it is still actual setup, but it's done in such a smart and beautiful way that it's intelligent.
It's set up to the origin of the character instead of set up to what comes next, which is something I think that the MCU has kind of struggled doing too fast. I think this has given you, like you said, a great thing for Jean to bring up when she does come together with Charles that becomes part of the reason that she does become good. I can see a world where we never get Phoenix. That is possible. A possibility. Like, I don't think we look at this and we go, this could be the only time we ever see Jean as a villain. And I think that would actually be an interesting place to take the character.
The only reason I think we will eventually get Phoenix is because you know Kevin Feige and where he got his start in Hollywood, and you know that he's made it well known over the years how the X-Men are his favorite characters of Marvel. It has pissed him off that a proper Dark Phoenix tale hasn't been told as much as it has normal fans. So it's not going to happen right away. But I will say for damn sure it will happen down the line. As long as Spidey's in charge, it will happen at one point.
I'm pretty sure this next saga, that's the end game. Like, I don't think it's Apocalypse or Mr. Sinister. I think the end game is Dark Phoenix, because he's talked about he wants to bring in the Shi'ar and like the cosmic parts of the X-Men. But back to like Jean, like okay, if she's a villain, she does all this villainous stuff and she's redeemed somehow, fine. I think the best way to move forward with this is that this New York incident, this is basically another Sokovia incident. I'm pretty sure he's dead, but whatever, that guy, she got hit by that taxi cab.
Oh, the taxi.
That's something you can say, a mutant did this. She cast this big psychic bubble over New York. We can't trust these people. We need to capture them. Like, whether it was an accident or not, this is now an inciting incident to be like, start rounding these people up.
And I think that's why Metzger them saying Metzger is missing at the end of this is important, because he's missing. Only one of those inhibitor chips was destroyed, The other one's just sitting on the floor in the jail cell or the holding
Yeah,
cell.
I didn't care for that.
What?
I know that I don't care for it. Like people are like, oh, Spider-Man invented this tool. Like they've already had inhibitor things in the MCU.
That's a question I need you to also clarify because I'm not sure what you're talking about.
I was about to say the only inhibitor thing that has been in the MCU, as far as I'm aware, has been there's been Wanda's the collar they would put on Wanda on occasion, and Hulk's inhibitor. Otherwise, there hasn't really been any other inhibitors.
They had the collars that they put on the criminals at the raft to stop them from using their powers. They had it on.
There's only one criminal at the raft who has powers.
They put it on Wanda. They put one on, even though it was from the Daredevil TV show, the girl with the cat powers. They put one on her when Jessica Jones sent her to the raft. So yeah, they have the technology, and
so they have.
I mean, it's been years. I get like sometimes you just miss things, and it's like, all right, we're reintroducing this again.
They had one on Wanda that completely dimmed her powers before. They've had it on somebody other than people connected to Hulk. That was my question.
Yeah.
So my point being, the one from Wanda, they knew it to just build it off of the stone. So because they built technology off of those stones before, they knew what to do with that. So that, but the thing is that this is a universal inhibitor chip that is going at DNA specifically. DNA, not powers, DNA. So this right there, the fact that, and nobody's paying attention to this, the fact that Peter takes his off and throws it away. He doesn't destroy it or anything like Jean destroys it when she takes it off her neck. He just tosses it away before he goes full, I'm both Spider-Man and Peter Parker mode. And Metzger's missing.
That was basically...
Yeah. That is a beautiful setup because for those who don't know, Metzger is actually an X-Men villain, smaller tier, but he can become the building blocks of a Bolivar Trask, which leads to Sentinels and so on and so forth. The point being, Peter just built the mutant inhibitor right there. Period. So the future implications of that are just astounding, especially knowing that we are going into the mutant saga after Secret Wars.
That is the.
They also had one on what's his name, the Hulk guy, Abomination.
I would say, Abomination again is very similar to.
But that's similar. That's the gamut. That's the same thing they're doing for Bruce.
Those were the two things that I loved about like him doing the Universal, and immediately I was like, oh, well, that's they're definitely planting the seeds beforehand to give us all the things we want in the mutant saga. So
yes. So
but also again, after Secret Wars, whatever they did on the raft beforehand, it's you can erase that. That didn't happen beforehand. It has always been Peter because the universe is being rebuilt. Just you can ignore any old things
softly rebuilt, not entirely.
You can say
rebuilt.
If somebody asks those questions, like, well, that was before Secret Wars. This is new now. Which
I'm very curious, especially after this film, how Secret Wars does affect Peter, because like the whole Tony Stark connection that we have with this Peter. Is that just gonna be like erased?
I don't think so.
Well, no, because what's being said is that after Secret Wars, we're gonna have a Tony Stark.
Oh, you mean if there's a new?
Yeah. So going based because right now the reports are that Armor Wars is now being turned into an Iron Man movie. So.
Anyway.
But this is stuff that. This is stuff I gotta bring up.
I also don't think Tom makes it to that point.
Yes, he does.
I think he has spoken enough about where he's at with this character and how he wants to.
And you're ignoring the recent interview, which is why I'm going to stop you before you say anything, because he's literally was just on Josh Horowitz's Happy Sack Confused podcast and talked about, we have laid out my exit. We have laid out the handing of the baton.
I know. I've heard that. And he wants to bring in Miles Morales, and that's his point.
Kevin wants to bring in Miles Morales. He has said that they are not allowed to do anything with Miles until after Beyond the Spider-Verse comes out. And what has been rumored for the longest is that this is his final trilogy. It is this film, a film where Miles gets introduced and bit at some point, last film where he's passing on the mantle to Miles, and then continuing the series with Miles. So,
and that's why I'm saying I don't think he makes it to Armor Wars. If he does,
you said Secret Wars. That's why I'm stopping.
No. Sorry,
you said
Armor.
Wars.
You said Armor Wars before, and that's why I'm saying you said that's an Iron Man movie, and I said
Armor Wars
makes it there.
Armor Wars is one of supposed to. Armor Wars is supposed to be one of the first things, one of the first films post Secret Wars, which is why I say that.
Yeah, I don't think if you're bringing Tony back for Armor Wars, if you're bringing Iron Man back, I don't think Peter makes it to that film. Not that I'm saying he's necessarily going to die, but I think Spider-Man is a different character.
My point is, if Secret Wars is coming out next year, we already know what the 3 2028 films are. They're X-Men, Ghost Rider, and Black Panther. And if Armor Wars is in 2029, Peter is without a doubt making it there, which is why I'm bringing the point up.
I don't think so.
You can think that, but logic and evidence states otherwise.
We'll see where Armor Wars gets released officially, if it even does. So, because that has been another one of those chopping block things that just haven't been happening. So,
to be fair, it's happening. They just get rid of. You know what? I ain't gonna say that word on this podcast. Anyways, let's talk about the acting. We spent a lot of time on Jean and her actions and where this can lead to. So, listen. Tom Holland and Zendaya are on a generational July. That's all I gotta say. Generational July. These motherfuckers gonna make damn near $2 billion this month alone.
Generational year for Zendaya.
For her a full year, but for Tom it's 2 weeks in the same month.
But their acting, their relationship, the going to the characters too. The heart of the film is them. Like, the best part of all of it is Peter working through the relationship and the isolation. And I really, really enjoy how they basically made him really deal with the repercussions of No Way Home without, at the end of the movie, them officially remembering who they are. We are getting new versions of MJ and Ned in relation to Peter. And I really like how that's going, like I said, officially, because we don't know what the whole handshake is doing, what that actually means at the end of the film.
The fact that he said Peter with a glowing look on his face, I'm going to say, like, Ned remembers.
Like I said,
Tom Holland said, you will find out the one person who remembers him in this film. So
I don't think it. I don't think the spell is broken, because even like MJ talked about how there's nothing there even after reading that letter. I do think we're going to see them.
And then I'm going to push back on that, because you literally have her last shot being at the fucking high school's roof where they used to hang out, and she's fingering the black, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, she did that in the third film too. But she still there's feelings there.
But she wasn't fingering the Black Dahlia necklace, which is specific to what Peter gave her. Fun thing about that note, never once mentions that necklace at all. So the fact that she is thinking about him and fingering that necklace tells you she is fingering. There's no other word for it.
But handling, touching, anything like that, bro.
Thank you.
I think they are building their friendship again from scratch. He'll probably fill them in like, we did this, because she remembers like something's not right. I remember like we went to high school, we were saved by Spider-Man. I remember all these things. Something feels like it's missing, but she's basically
she didn't
fine.
say that. Jean Grey said that.
But how would Jean Grey know
that? She said that. No, Zendaya, MJ definitely says there. Oh, you mean when she was?
Yeah.
Okay. Fine. Yeah. Fine. Whatever.
But yeah.
But why would she know to say that? Yes.
Because she pulled all that stuff from her brain. Read the note beforehand. You forget this. Yes, we did. Jean Grey was at Spidey's apartment and read the note, and that's what caused Spidey to go after MJ. So she knew to go after Peter's emotions with those lines specifically. So that's why I'm stopping you right there.
But still, I do not think that the spell is broken. One, that is very powerful magic that you can't just break by saying, hey, I'm so-and-so. I think the plan
That
here is
wasn't-
that
that
even though
wasn't
they
made by
lost,
so-and-so.
even though they lost those memories, the emotions are still there. Like when they were just hanging out building Legos, they still feel like friends. So he's just gonna be like, "We're starting over. Hey, did we do this? Yeah, we did that. Hey, how long have you been Spider-Man? You found out when I think they're just building that friendship again
Nah.
because you can't breaking that spell in any way breaks it for everybody. And
to be fair, Gene called out the MJ hate that cliche, true love kiss. That was muscle memory, and that's just true friendship breaking through at that moment.
So here's the reason. Here's the reason why I'm like, I'm still on board. Like they. This is why I think it was smart. They did not do the cliche. My friends are there at the end. All of what you're saying, and Harrison, what you're saying is the natural way that we know the spell will be broken at some point, but they didn't make it a cop out to have it be broken at this film. So the spell's not broken. They still are new people, but all of these little remnants are how these things, to me, feels like them saying this is how these things work. Ned is still Spider-Man crazy.
He's always
MJ
been Spider-Man crazy.
So he is still Spider-Man crazy. He's not losing who he is just because he forgot who Peter Parker was. MJ still has like little things here and there that remind you of like, oh, it's back there somewhere, but it's not easily breaking through. And I loved that balance. That's why I think this is so great, because it's a great balance of what we know is coming, but swerving expectations. Like, I love the scene where you thought, where I knew, but I was like, don't tell me they're actually doing True Love's Kiss, breaks it. I was like, be Gene, please be Gene. And when they did it, I was like, yes, thank you for doing something smart in something that is like telegraphed, that could have been telegraphed a mile away.
That's where the film circle thing that we've talked about comes into play, because I think if you take your like critic hat film obsessed person thing off and you fall for that, like, I'll be honest, like,
I heard people gasp. I
didn't fall for it right away, but I was like, the Gene of it all didn't come to my head immediately because I was so immersed in the film.
Well, Zendaya also did such a beautiful job at selling that scene.
Mm-hmm.
She does. And that's why when we talk about the acting, the other thing I will say, I think there are very, very, very good actors in the world. I think people can make relationships and stuff out of nothing. I think this is the first film where the relationship between Tom and Zendaya added something to those characters and shown through in a different way than a manufactured relationship.
Agreed.
I agree. I did not, like, when that scene was playing, I did not think Jean was in her head. But I am happy it turned out to be Jean, because I thought it was going to end in like a joke. I thought it was going to be at the end, like she was going to kiss him and be like, nope, I still don't remember anything. But a joke didn't come. It turned into an even more serious moment because Jean was controlling her and doing all this. So I like what happened better than what I assumed was going to happen. Which,
I ain't going to lie, I thought Jean was going to let go of control when Peter had MJ by the neck. I was like, oh, she's about to fuck over all this man's chances right here. Nah.
That would probably have been cooler, because
that
would have been dark, because she would have woke up like, oh, you're killing me.
And see, that's what I thought, that, because I'm like, we're taking Peter on this very emotional journey, and like, if this girl wakes up with Spider-Man choking her and it's the love of his life, how is that going to affect? And I was just like, ooh, and then she does the jump, pushes off. I'm like, all right, we ain't doing that. This is still good. Let's keep rolling.
But as good as Tom and Zendaya are, let's talk about the number one couple in this film to me. And that is Peter and Frank.
Dude,
I love this pair. I think that they are a duo. Like, obviously, they have histories outside of the films and television shows and stuff like that.
Another pairing we got to see in the Odyssey. We got to see that romance in the Odyssey.
Again, I know that they're good friends in real life. I didn't realize the chemistry that these two characters were going to have.
John calls Tom his little brother.
Yeah, and this reminded me of, I think Tony makes a really good mentor in Homecoming. I think Spider-Man, not Peter, but I think Spider-Man is better when he has his own person to play off of. Not that he's not a strong enough character to do his own films, but that really does bring out the best of him. I thought he brought it out when he was working with Iron Man. I thought it brought it out here when he was working with Punisher. I think it elevates
Even Mysterio, even though
Mysterio. It elevates the character in a way that singularly he just doesn't reach. He's too comical. I don't know what it is. There's just something about him on his own that doesn't quite hit the heights that when you pair him with the right partner, he is like the ultimate buddy cop pairing kind of superhero.
Yeah.
Don't forget that Punisher's first appearance in the comics is in a Spider-Man comic.
Yeah.
So they are there
Spider-Man.
naturally to be like that. And for me, it reminded me of Inception. Positive emotion trumps negative emotion every time. And when Spider-Man's by himself, it's the hardness, it's the darkness, it's the loneliness. So when you get to the positive side of Spider-Man, go riffing off of someone that hits
more lonely and more dark.
Yeah, that hits harder, even though both are great. It hits harder and it works really well when he's paired off with someone, which again, why this feels like a great usage of Spider-Man in an actual lived-in world in the MCU where other heroes are around, and they're not all of the heroes are going to be here for all of the things, but they're around and he's going to utilize those people to help him in a natural way that doesn't feel forced.
Amazing what kind of Punisher we get when John Bernthal isn't the one writing it.
I enjoyed them together for most of the movie. I did have some issues with some of the things the Punisher did, but like him, like the banter, the fact that he's like, "Well, I saved your life that one time," and we didn't have to see it. Just them talking about this incident that happened in Staten Island was great, and like them getting into their argument. The fact that like when they were fighting the Hulk, and like Spider-Man is like, "What? This is above your pay grade. We're fighting the Hulk here. You don't do this." Like that was great. The way they interact, and I would love. Of course, we're getting more Spider-Man movies, like more of that. Just more of these guys coming in and just talking about history that we don't see. I think is good. I do think him working with the Punisher raises a few other questions throughout the movie. We can talk about them now, talk about them later, that don't really make sense. It's the Punisher. The Punisher is, yes, he's a vigilante, but he's a wanted. He's a wanted vigilante. He's not like him in the beginning when he appears and Spider-Man stops him and he goes off. Sure, yeah, nobody caught him, but he can't just be in a hospital and stay there.
That's what he does. I mean, to be fair,
and this apparently they shot a scene with is it Claire Temple, like Night Nurse, Rosario Dawson's character? That my
guess
her. That would have been way better.
My guess is that she is the nurse at that hospital, and like that scene probably is as a part of the end. I'm going to be honest. That would make the most sense. And also the fact that he's carrying Spider-Man in is probably why they're letting him be. Like he's literally carrying him in.
That also doesn't make sense. Like I didn't think about that watching the movie. People like he was too far for him to get there and then bring him to a hospital.
And also, who the fuck is gonna try to tell? Who the fuck is gonna try to do something to the Punisher? Let's be honest here.
This is where I did. These were during the movie. The small nitpicks I did have that like didn't like put my enjoyment away. But I was asking. Like I also was like, Spidey, are you not going to talk about the dude that just got hit by a cab? We're not. Okay, we're just going to skip that. That's cool. Fine. And
care more about the pussy.
He had to do that. But yeah, him being in the hospital and staying in the hospital, I was like, so yeah, at the end of One Last Kill, like he's just going around and like doing his justice. And I guess Spider-Man also has a relationship with Liza Cologne's character. I forgot her name. Yeah. So maybe the vigilante.
The
Wolf. Yeah, maybe vigilante police relations are better, and there was an off-screen thing with the Punisher. But we needed more information on that.
We are post Daredevil season 2. Wilson Fisk isn't there. Vigilante isn't as big of an issue now.
But Daredevil is still in jail.
Yes,
Daredevil's in jail for other things.
That was one reason. That was a thing that I felt like I can accept. But it probably needed a little bit more exploration or past setup to work. And also, my biggest thing, because we're in that scene, it was low key a cop out, but one again that I accepted. That Punisher said, "Yeah, voodoo magic shit helped you not die." I was like, okay, Jean Grey is very powerful. I guess that's what she's doing. I would have liked a little bit more than just voodoo magic shit.
He does have a healing factor. They should have just said that. I guess that spider game
Yeah,
healed you up
I would
quicker.
have took that more than voodoo
I
magic shit.
think the idea is that she was in his mind, keeping his body alive, and
Yeah.
that's why. And so that's
I
why
get it.
because Frank does it's the Frankism. That is
Yeah.
Frankese. He's speaking in Frank's way.
Yeah.
I heard that line. I'm like, okay, Gene held consciousness of his body, so Peter didn't just fade away and his body die. She's there. She can stay in there until he is at a point where his body's healed enough to where she can let go and he take back over. That is how I viewed that line.
I'm very good with that explanation. Just the fact that you need to make up that explanation in your head is the point where I was like, maybe a little bit more.
My point is, I did.
We get it.
I didn't have to make that explanation. Nick thought the same thing.
But he made it up in his head. I made it up in my head. It wasn't said in the movie.
Frank said Jean used her voodoo. That is just Frank being Frank and being funny.
So again,
that is just
you have
being
to
familiar
make
with
an
the
explanation
character.
of what voodoo magic shit is. That's all I'm saying.
You don't have to. It's just knowing how the character talks. That's all it is.
Frank doesn't understand, at this point in time at least, Frank doesn't understand what a mutant is. Frank's not, like, even Daredevil's blind sensory stuff, he doesn't always fully understand what's going on. He's always like, yo, Red, how you doing? He
simplifies it.
Yeah, he's a simple man.
That works for Frank. My last bit about what you just said is they didn't set that up for her in the movie. There was no setup of her being able to keep a person together. That's the thing. Like, if I would seen something beforehand where I was like, can you wait? Can you wait?
Oh, because I'm going to step on your point regardless. So no.
I will kick you out of this. No, I won't kick you out of this. Anyway, if they would have set that up beforehand, because they set up the telepathy, they set up the telekinesis towards the end as her growing, and then you have to make the small leap. Again, this is a small gripe of, okay, so I guess when he got shot, I was like, is Jean gonna help? Can Jean help? I don't know if I'm guessing we're doing that. It was a question I had to ask myself where I was like, if you would have shown it before a little bit better. Again, that was the one little nitpick that I've been thinking about the most.
Yeah, I don't even need him to say that. I just assumed before he said anything, I was like, well, he was going to heal eventually. It was a damaging blow, but he's Spider-Man. I was like, okay, it just took him a while to heal from that. That's fine with me. I don't need Jean helping him survive.
I also like that they didn't fully explain to you what Jean is capable of.
Yes.
Like, I like that they don't throw that in your face. Like, even at the end, you get that moment
that she does.
Yeah, you get that moment at the end that she's helping him, but like, I like kind of the obscurity of it. I like that they didn't get into it because I think that's stuff that will come with Charles because I don't think she knows the full extent of her power.
Yes,
because like she's not putting visions and shit in other people's brain, like, which is one of the things she can do. She can make it so people are not able to see you even if you're standing right. Like, there's so much she can do. So this is the beautiful way to just scratch the surface.
Well, that's any telepath mostly.
Not all of them. Not all of them in this world, but they all, because there are different variations to all their powers. But
even like the 30 feet thing that she could only go from person to person. You're watching her in real time.
That's made up for the movie.
Her powers.
But no, it's because she's learning. Because eventually, because she asked the question, "Could you one day do it without that?" And her sister's like, "Maybe." And then because of her anger, you see her do it without that. So
because for all the pushback that the idea of Young Avengers got, I like the idea that these X-Men are kind of kids. Like, I think that's a really the right way to do this. And you're potentially locking up all these notable young actors in Hollywood right now. Like, I think I'm so much more excited for the X-Men after this movie and news like Samara Weaving coming in as Emma Frost or talking to Cooper Hoffman or talking to Kaylee Spaney. Like, I think they're going to give us something different than what we've gotten so far. And that's really all I wanted, was not redoing the Fox stuff all over again.
Yeah, they're not redoing the Fox stuff. But again, at the same time, they're not kids. They're at the youngest, they're teenagers. So
That teenagers
Well,
still
okay,
think
when I say
really
kids,
want to
I
do-
mean like
They
teenagers.
should
They're
have,
kids to
if
us.
they really want to go young, they should have cast really young. Because as long as it takes to make these movies, you're just doing a slightly younger, like James Marsden and all them. They were in their 30s. These kids are going to be in their 20s.
But the idea is, and this is where the marketing side of things comes in. I'm going to hat to Jay Washington. Part of the reason they're doing this is because they're looking at they're trying to win back Generation Alpha right now and Generation Z, where those are generations that don't care about sex as much. And they're looking at who these generations are latching onto as actors. That's why the Kaylee Spaney as Rogue rumored casting is a big one, because that is a big personality for that age group. That is why David Johnson is a big casting for Black Panther, because he is a big personality with that age group. That is why Sadie Sink, because of Stranger Things, and what was the horror Netflix thing she was in?
I don't know.
She's been on a lot of stuff for Netflix.
The Whale.
The Whale. Like, there's that horror anthology that was done for Netflix, and she was in one or two of those. But point being, like, people have latched on to her. Like, that's part of the reason Cooper Hoffman, if he does end up getting cast as Scott, makes sense to me, because that is another young actor who those generations have latched onto. They are trying to get talent in there that these younger generations know that you can still keep for 15 to 20 years, because they'll only be in their mid 40s to early 50s and can still be doing this for another 5 to 10 years after that if they really wanted to.
Yeah,
so,
well,
I don't know if it'll last that long. I'm saying theoretically, this is why they are going.
Theoretically, yes.
You want to avoid doing Harry Potter. Is really what it is. Like, you got lucky that Daniel Radcliffe and Rupert Grint can act. Emma Watson we'll talk about after, but you got lucky that those two can act. Emma Watson fizzled out a little bit. Like, it just happened.
She didn't fizzle out. She just got tired of the business. There's a difference.
She had like the best career out of all of them.
Right.
I mean,
up until recent years, yes. Daniel's
yeah.
But also, like, it's not like Emma was like killing it in all of her post Harry Potter projects. She had the bling ring, and then she had like the circle and
Perks being a wallflower.
But that's still like in the Harry Potter timeline. Like, they were still making those films at that point. I'm talking about in a post Potter world.
That was her first.
That was all post Potter.
Okay, so just post Potter.
But that's talking about Jean Grey and her sister. That scene where they captured her sister, I did not like, because earlier it is revealed that they had information on both of them. And if you're scoping them out to like put a dart in one of their necks, and her sister is right there.
I don't think they got the information on her until working with the sister.
Do you think the sister said, "My sister's also a telepath"?
No, I think they pulled it from her. She was essentially being tortured. So, like,
yeah, we don't get full explanation as to what they do to cause her death.
Yeah. But even if they didn't know her sister had powers, they knew she had a sister. And I don't see how you can find out that her sister has powers and not find out the younger one. Like, if she did like some great big brain blast or something, but she just got knocked out and like controlled her sister to walk away and hide behind a bush. I just think they could have handled that reveal a little better. Like,
I'm gonna have to watch it again for that one, because it wasn't something that
having
caught
seen
me
that scene three times.
It
seems like she sent her farther away, because she woke up when she awoke and it looked like she was in the middle of the forest. She didn't just go behind the bush.
Oh no, she was still in the park. She was just behind the bush.
She was still in the park. It wasn't me. I'm saying she was still in the park, but it looks like she was deeper in the woods of the park rather than just hiding behind a bush. Is what I'm saying, and that's seeing it three times. I'm saying that. So essentially, she just put her completely out of sight, just to be safe, which I can respect.
Yeah, and I think at that point in time, it didn't seem that Jean was near as powerful as her.
No,
true.
So I think you take the biggest threat, and then that happens all the time. You
and
take
the
biggest threat, and then supplemental threats we'll get to them later.
And they even say, wait, real quick, they even say when they start working with Jean, yeah, she's nowhere near as powerful as her sister. Mm-hmm. And then it's when she realizes her sister. Yes,
when they were working with Jean, they said she's a lot more powerful than her sister. That's what they said.
I thought that the first time. Having seen that scene three times, she's not as. You're right. She's not as powerful as her sister.
I think you should watch it again. I'm pretty sure they said she's way more powerful than her sister because of when the blue streaks were going and they were going like a lot more crazy. That's why he was so excited because he was like, all right.
That's what I caught, too.
The blue streaks didn't start going crazy until she lost her ever-loving mind, realizing her sister had died.
You saw it more than me, but my interpretation was the same as Harrison's.
And I can say that was my interpretation the first time I saw it. I'm saying the interpretation I have after seeing it the other 2 times.
Yeah, I think she becomes much more powerful than her sister, but I don't think she's looked at the beginning when they capture her. We have to think about how long they captured her for as the same level of threat, and I think it's just you take the worst evil.
So it was like
they kept the hours to a day.
I don't know if it was hours to a day, but it was clearly within a year because they.
Oh no! Sorry. I was talking about the amount of time they had Jean, not.
Yeah.
But yeah. So this is going to be a longer episode because there's a lot to unpack here. We haven't even talked about Daniel and his direction.
Destin.
He was great.
His name is Destin.
Sorry. Destin Daniel. Sorry. Destin and his direction.
It's like, since when are we calling people by their middle names?
Bro, it's because it's the DD. It always throws me off.
Tom Holland calls Zendaya by her middle name. He calls
Marie.
Marie.
This is, I would say this is, and I'll lean this towards like the action set pieces and the Hulk of it all, and the man spider of it all. But like this feels completely different than the original trilogy, making a new set. This was the first time I visibly saw the difference in Tom Holland looking like an actual adult.
Yes. Yeah.
And like the fact that Destin like straight up took from Spider-Man 2 video game, got the point of view shots. I will say there were, and this is part of me being like a little like, damn, being a critic now, I pay attention to shit more. There were a couple of like green screened or CGI shots that I was like, it's not as good. And I hate that I nitpick that now.
That damage control sign on the building, when he swings into the damage control building, like I literally saw the sign shift up during the pan up. I was like, eee.
But still, like either way though, it's as overcast that everything looks. It's more colorful. It's more shadows. It's more dynamic. That's the 2 scenes with Punisher and the Hulk and him in the hand at the end, using slow motion in proper ways.
Yeah,
like it all was just dynamic, extremely dope, very cool. The little not nod, but like the Spider-Man-ism of right before he fights the hand, he's staring at him like, damn, this is cool as shit, and then starts fighting him. That was really, really cool. Like, great decision. I think Destin, he's been 3 for 3 in he's been batting 1,000 on everything he's done in the MCU.
Yeah, unfortunately, one of those things got canceled.
I'm hoping that becomes like a bigger things for both him.
So do I.
I think that news came out, and then I think people kind of got really pissed off about it. But I think there's more
maybe
to
we should
it.
give this man a movie.
Yes.
I think that's
I think if there was more to it, I think Yaya would have said something different than what he said.
Or he has an NDA and is like, I'm gonna just wait. Just wait.
Well, then he shouldn't have said anything. Or
he hasn't been roped into it yet, because that is sometimes the thing. Like, he's still under contract with Marvel. However, what that contract is, we don't know. But I do got to say, and pause, before you give credit to Spider-Man 2, the video game, I hate that I have to give these movies some credence. You first have to go to the Amazing Spider-Man films and how they did their swinging, which was the standard.
Beautiful.
Yes, which was, and that is what I thought more so than the Spider-Man video games before I went to this, because like we got shots very reminiscent of the Amazing Spider-Man when he the first time we get to see that full suit reveal, when it's first person, he runs onto the building and he gets onto the glass, and it's like, well, damn, like
it was
that's
really
where my mind went.
It was really cool to also incorporate that into once he sees Zendaya with the boyfriend, and then he's like, no suit.
Shout out to my man Amon Fondy. Shout out to Ezra Bridger, Jabba the Hutt.
Swinging and crying in full, just regular clothes. Like, decisions like that were really cool.
Yes, because typically you don't see that with Peter. I mean, I guess we saw it once or twice in the same Raimi trilogy, But otherwise, you've never seen Peter be like, I'm gonna just use my swinging as the way to get around. Like, that man was broken. And he said, fuck that, it's raining. I'm just, because for those who don't know, technically, if you run through rain, you get more wet than if you walk through. So if he's swinging through rain, this man is getting drenched.
Yeah, it's very much that like athlete has a bad game and then they go run laps kind of thing. It's just like, I just need to like explode my emotion into something, and he just gives into it. And I like seeing the amount of emotion he shows here. I will say about the web swing, I really liked it.
Yes.
I think that, not to call out this movie, but I think that Destin achieved with the web swinging what James Gunn tried to achieve with the new Superman films flying.
Yeah, I can see that.
And I think that Destin did a better job of it.
I would agree
think
with that.
There's an immersiveness to the way he swings through the city, and there's kind of a vortex aspect to the Superman flying thing that doesn't quite work for the same way for me.
Well, I think what works is we got to see that they had a real swinging rig for a decent amount of those scenes. So when he's swinging through the city, he's actually swinging through the city. It's not just a CGI background behind him. It is, we have him on this moving car rig. Let's go. All right, flip. And
he is, but the easy thing to do is to use long shots and things like they did in like the Tobey Maguire films and stuff like that. It's the close-up aspect and the way that it works, which is something I felt was a little uncanny valley with James Gunn's Superman. I think it did. I think the close-ups of Spidey as he's swinging, I think it made it really exhilarating.
There's only one that I thought didn't work, and that was one when he ran into the birds because the CGI around it was not great.
Yeah, that was another part. I was like, CGI, but okay, keep it moving.
Yeah.
It's
like in and out. Like I'm just like, it's fuck it. I don't care. I'm in it. I can deal with this.
But I just think the direction. This was the first time, like people ask me like, why did I give it like my final grade that is on my spoiler review that's going to drop this weekend was a 4. Because I told Rue this, I told Nick this, and I told Harrison this before the show. The grade I gave it on my non-spoiler review was an I for incomplete because I felt like I needed a second viewing before I could really solidify my thoughts. And once I got the second view, I'm like, all right, I'm at a solid 4.25. Solid 4.25. That is where I'm at. I do not think it is the best Spider-Man film. However, since talking last night with Rue and Nick about our Spidey list, I have swapped it. This is swapping out with Homecoming and moving into the top 5. Because I've thought about it more and I've marinated on it more, also having seen it. I went to see it after that conversation we had. So I was like, all right, you know what? Yeah, I do like this more than because my biggest complaints about those original 3 is they had moments where they felt like Spider-Man films, but they never felt like a Spider-Man film fully. And this did.
I do appreciate that trilogy though.
Yes, and I'm not saying I don't.
But what I appreciate it is at the end of No Way Home, everybody's like, "Oh, this was a 3 movie origin story, and we're about to get into the Spidey we know." And then they delivered on, "We got your origin story. Now we're in a Spider-Man film." Yeah. And it made me appreciate all 4 of them even more in that way.
And that's totally fair. And I probably feel the same way because the times that I was getting teary-eyed were the times that they relied on the callbacks. Like I got teary-eyed during the fake out. I ain't gonna lie. I got teary-eyed during the Marvel opening symbol because I saw them erasing Peter from the memories. I was like, "Yo, no, that's fucked. That's dark."
Yeah, that opening was cold.
I was like, but I love that they're doing it. I'm like, oh, they're just trying to hit you with the emotions early. I appreciate that. And then I got teary-eyed during the big confrontation when he accidentally leaves the note sitting out when he leaves Frank's and MJ finds it and she's like, I don't love you. This version of me might, but like I don't. And I got teary-eyed when Ned remembers that he's who he is. So
It's funny because I didn't get teary-eyed, I don't think, but I was definitely invested in the emotional relationship. But I think that Ned remembering the handshake was like I saw it in a press screening, not a fan press screening, so
same.
I didn't quite get the audience reaction in the same way. But even then, like that was a little bit like when Cap takes Thor's hammer. Like it was, oh shit,
Yes.
they got their like moment together, and it hit in a way emotionally for a lot of people, even differently than the Zendaya stuff did. Like you just
Yes.
felt so good for these characters that they get that moment. And I think the thing with the Peter and Zendaya, when Zendaya is actually Jean, I think you have one of two ways you're realizing in that moment. One, you're sucked in, you're like, this is it. I feel so good for Peter. He's getting this moment. Or you are aware that it's Jean and you are filled with the devastation of what is about to come to Peter, the way the rug is going to be pulled out from under him. And I think that is something, going back to Destin, I think that's something he nails in these films, or in this film, in these moments, because the emotion all had weight, but it never felt cheap. And you always kind of got to see both sides of the coin because you knew everything that was going on with Peter and how people had forgotten him. And it's funny because early on in the film, off the setup, it does kind of come across that the way that Peter is dealing with everyone else forgetting about him is by forgetting about Peter Parker himself. He immerses himself into Spider-Man. Spider-Man becomes his life, and he kind of loses who Peter is, which is what makes these friendship moments with, I should say Zendaya and Ned, with MJ and Ned hit that much more, because you see that this guy kind of buried a part of himself for upwards of 3 years and lived this superhero life
Upwards of 4,
because he lost everything.
It's 4 because they did every year of college, and everything in No Way Home happens before Christmas even hits. So 4.5 years that he did this.
It's crazy good. I quite enjoy this movie.
Yeah,
and I know that I'm gonna probably like it the more and more I sit with it, and the more and more I watch it.
That's what's happened with me. I went from not knowing how, I knew I was positive on it, and I knew I loved it, or I knew I liked it, but I didn't know how much I did yet. And that's first subsequent viewing, I was like, yeah, I really dig this. And that third one, I was like, yeah, I do dig this. I got one more planned that'll probably be my last one. I'm going to see it with my 3 godchildren in XD, and they wanted to see it in 3D. And shout out to Winston A. Marshall, friend of the channel, who said the only screening he could get a solid seat to was in 3D, and that the 3D actually made the swinging even more beautiful to him.
It's great.
So I'm excited to see it in that way. And there's definitely one 3D scene that when I saw it the other times, I was like, oh, that's going to look awesome in 3D. When he's flipping back the inhibitor while he's trying to get it on Hulk. And they're like, I was like, oh, that's going to look great in 3D.
That was very reminiscent of the Spider-Man 3 scene with Tobey trying to keep the engagement ring.
The wedding ring? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
before that movie goes to shit.
Yeah, I think overall, I think the movie is good and enjoyable. The phrase like "don't make mountains out of molehills." I feel like there's like so many molehills that I'll watch it and be like, man, this is fun. I still wish they had did these little tiny things better. Like I don't want to be able. I don't think I should be able to nitpick a movie.
I feel like
personally, I feel like I've been so entranced in the MCU. Like I've watched all the movies and all the shows, and I feel like that has hurt me. I feel like if I didn't watch any of the TV shows, I would love this movie a lot more because there would be less things I would be like, well, that doesn't quite make sense, or this doesn't quite make sense. I think I just hop straight from No Way Home to this and be like, oh, this is a great story, regardless of Jean being a villain and do that.
So Harrison, I think you are where I was with that first viewing, where I was like, I enjoyed it, but I still don't there's things I had to. Whenever you get around to having a second viewing, I think you might change your tune a little bit more because that's what happened with me. because there are some things that you've said over social. I'm like, I felt that way at first, but then seeing it again and catching things I didn't before.
Were you super hyped to see? And I think that's like I
I
was
wasn't.
super hyped to see this movie.
No,
Well,
like,
I was so hyped up to see it, and I think that affected me. Like Fantastic Four, I wasn't really hyped to see that movie, and I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would.
I was not. I'll be honest. I'm one of those people who've become disenchanted with the MCU a lot. Doing this, just this whole thing. Whether I'm doing stuff for Blurgs, my channel here. This was the first time since Thunderbolts for me. Actually, no, since Daredevil season. Every other thing, it kind of feels like a job. Daredevil season 2 didn't feel like a job to me. But Wonder Man didn't feel like a job. Like they've been on a hot streak to me recently, but like Fantastic Four felt like a working to me. What was before this? Because I feel like there's something before this that I didn't.
I wouldn't go as far as saying it felt like working, but I do think Harrison kind of nailed the word there, which is anticipation. And this is probably the most I've anticipated an MCU film since Guardians Volume 3.
But see, my point I was getting at is the anticipation for a lot of this stuff has died for me. The Fantastic Four was one of the first times I went into something in a while and with anticipation. And you can ask Rue you can go back and watch the Fantastic Four episode if you really want. I don't like that movie at all. I haven't bought it because I don't like it so much.
Dude, I'll say what no one else wants to say. People don't really want new characters thrown at them like that. They'd rather see them introduced the way like T'Challa was introduced and Spider-Man were introduced in Civil War, but like the people that we're attached to within the MCU are our original Avengers and the people that have come throughout those Avengers films. And this works in such a good way for people because this is now their fourth film they've had with this version of this character, and Zendaya and Jacob Batalon. And when you do something like Fantastic Four, where you're like, hey, here's characters that you don't really know about. You might have known the 2005 films, Chris Evans, lol, in the Deadpool. He used to be Johnny Storm. But you were told, if you weren't a comic book fan, you have no reason to care about the Fantastic Four. There's never been an on-screen reason to care about them. And hearing that this is our team, Doctor Doom is our new big bad, when you don't have that history to build on for people who are just immersed in these movies, it's not going to land the same way. That's why it's no one's fault, but that's why Ironheart didn't work the same way. That's why there was another one that they did that was focused on a new character. I want to say another
Marvel,
series.
Unfortunately, Ms. Marvel.
Ms. Marvel.
Miss Marvel.
But
even the Hawkeye series, like Haley Steinfeld's a magnetic person on screen, and that's what did a lot for that. But you needed Hawkeye in it. Like you weren't just going to watch a show with Haley Steinfeld's character. That's why Thunderbolt worked, because you at least had introduced her. You had Bucky, but you'd also introduced her in Black Widow. These weren't these like new people thrown in your face. They were built up. They were given to you. And that's to me why Fantastic Four really didn't work. And I think that's for a lot of people why Shang-Chi didn't work in the same way as well.
I'd love to say Shang-Chi was actually considered one that works. So I
think the action of it works. I think the caring about the character doesn't.
I'm going to push back because there are so many people on social media clamoring for Shang-Chi, and we're pissed when Destin got Shang-Chi or Kang Dynasty, because we're saying Shang-Chi. But we're pissed when he got Kang Dynasty because we're like, what does that mean for Shang-Chi? And then we're pissed when Kang Dynasty gets canceled and it gets moved to Spider-Man instead. Because like, what about Shang-Chi too? Because people have been clamoring for that. So people are talking about how Shang-Chi has been done dirty. So I will give you every other point besides Shang-Chi.
And I enjoyed Shang-Chi too. And I enjoy Simu. Sorry?
He said Shang-Chi 2 hasn't come out yet.
I gotcha. No, I enjoy Simu. I enjoyed the character. I thought the movie did really well, but I am not going to anticipate another Shang-Chi film the way I'm going to anticipate a new whatever, a new Guardians, a new Thor, a new Iron Man, a new Captain America.
I think you're on a small island with that one because most people did enjoy Shang-Chi that much.
A lot of people enjoyed Miss Marvel too, and look where that went.
A lot of people didn't enjoy Miss Marvel though.
But a lot of people did.
No, when I say a lot of people, by numbers, Miss Marvel did not have as many eyes on it as Shang-Chi. That's what I mean by the people who did watch that show enjoyed it. Yes. But it never drew in the same numbers and eyes as a Shang-Chi. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, to be fair, now you're comparing TV versus film.
And I get that, but and this is something we have to talk about because Marvel's TV numbers and honestly, most streaming services' TV numbers have been declining. But people got annoyed, and this is partly on Bob Chapek, where he's like, fuck the quality. I want you to put out as much as possible. And that's why you get shows like Moon, like there's very few, and I as much as I love that, as much as I've enjoyed most of these series personally myself, there are very few of these Marvel series that work for the general audience. Would you agree with me on that, Rue?
You said few Marvel TV shows that work for the general audience?
Yes.
I would say
I don't know. I honestly don't, but it's not a successful.
I agree with the sentiment. As much as I like a good few of them, I think the ones that work were like the first two and Werewolf by Night.
Loki worked.
The first three, yeah.
Loki worked. Captain America and the Winter Soldier worked. I'm going to say Hawkeye worked. WandaVision worked. Hawkeye worked for the most part. But
Werewolf by Night.
Werewolf by Night.
Yes, that was great.
But after that, that's not even that's a one-off special. That's not even an ongoing show like the rest of them. After that, we didn't get one that was. Yeah, that's the point. We didn't get a universally praised and loved one again until Wonder Man. Daredevil, the audience has been split the entire time. It's been bad. So that's why I'm not gonna. But think about that. You started off strong, and then you got people to a point where like. You keep falling off right at the finish line. So, and then your TV, and then your films were declining, and the quality also. And people are like, I'm really starting to not trust this brand like I did anymore.
Well, and they made too much prerequisite watching.
Yeah,
like that really is what it is. Like Star Wars had the exact same problem, where it was like, oh, we're gonna put a new series, another series, another series, another series, and like, hey, I heard Skeleton Crew was great. I didn't watch it. Because there was just so much between Star Wars and Marvel that you had to catch up to understand these ongoing stories. If you like Mandalorian, you then had to watch Ahsoka and so on and so forth. It's all these things that were all interconnected.
And you want to know what?
They had to get away from that.
That's Marvel's fault. At the end of the day, that's Marvel's fault because people saw how successful these interconnected stories were. And at the end of it became what they're undoing. Like here, I know people are all over the place about James Gunn's DCU. You want to know what I love about it? I can tune into any one specific thing without having to have watched what's come before it, essentially. They each stand alone. Outside
of Supergirl.
No, Supergirl even. You don't need to have watched Superman to watch Supergirl. At all. Because it is about what she is experiencing, feeling alone after losing her planet, after losing everyone. There is nothing about Superman, viewing Superman, that is required to watch Supergirl. There is nothing from Creature Commandos that it is required to watch the first season of Peacemaker. There is nothing from... seemingly, there's nothing in Lanterns outside of if you want to see where you saw Guy Gardner the first time that is going to be required. Yeah, Clayface coming out in October. There's not. So that is people are. The general audience has been. Well, why aren't we like we're doing this universe? Why aren't we doing everything's connected like Marvel? Because that man has paid attention to the fact that that's been the decline of what's going on with superhero films. So he's trying to give you a way to engage and not have to deal with it. You don't have to see everything. You can if you want, but there's no required viewing beforehand.
But we should all go see Spider-Man because the decline is turning into an incline.
Yes,
this
it is.
movie projects to make $2 billion, which I think is crazy, but great. Regardless of nitpicks, regardless of things, I'm glad this movie is going to do well, and it actually makes me excited. Like, there are things I don't like about the movie, but I am excited to see Spider-Man 5, to see what they go forward. And I am also excited to see X-Men, and I think that's another reason why Jean Grey's this movie, because she's in a Spider-Man movie. People will connect her to Spider-Man. They're going to definitely go see X-Men, even if they weren't before. Another $1 billion, well, hopefully for Feige. So
we'll see. Harrison, real quick, where can the good people find you?
The good people can find me on all social media except for TikTok at MovieGuru23 at FlixFrog. If you hop on over to Twitter, you'll hear me complaining about the Spider-Man movie, even though I liked it.
Yeah, and posting spoilers. He gives no fucks. Nick and Amarú can be found right here on Bitesize Breakdown's YouTube channel and the website. You can go see their articles and reviews. There hasn't been an article in a while. I got questions for you, Nick. What the hell's going on? Anyways,
we do them monthly now.
It's not enough. Anyways, you can find me over on my personal YouTube channel, Watt Real Entertainment, where I do movie reviews, reactions, sometimes the occasional just little editorial like I did with the MCU Hall H panel last week. And then right here on Bite Size Breakdown, doing a bigger bite. So with that, folks, for Amarú, for Nick, and for Harrison, my name is Matt. This was another Bigger Bite, and we will see you next time. Peace.